How old must he be now? 8, 9. My neighbor asked it like small talk, smiling over the hedge. I stood there with my keys in my hand and a pit in my stomach. I've never had children. It happened on a quiet weekday, the kind that slips by. Birds, sprinklers, the mail truck, the usual sounds of our block. Then this casual bomb in my driveway, as if we discussed my son 100 times before. She kept going, warm and certain, like she knew him well. She said he rode his bike near the lane, always polite, always waving. I nodded, then felt my face go cold. I didn't know which part of me she was seeing. That's where this true story begins. A calm street, a familiar voice, and a detail that should not exist. I didn't feel haunted exactly. I felt out of place in my own life. I asked careful questions, thinking maybe she meant a neighbor's kid. She didn't blink. She told me his grade, his laugh, his favorite snack. It sounded like a boy with a whole history. From that moment, little things around me felt off. Names I didn't use, memories I didn't have, a thread that tugged at ordinary days. I kept telling myself there was a simple answer. There wasn't. This post isn't about a trick of light or a prank. It's about what happens when people you trust remember a life you never lived. When the story of your family splits quietly, like a sidewalk crack. If you enjoy strange true stories, you'll feel right at home. I'll share what happened next, who else claimed to know him, and the night everything turned. I'll keep it simple and honest. You can decide what to call it, how the strange comments first started. It began as neighborly small talk, the kind that drifts over fences with the smell of charcoal and sunscreen. The first comment landed softly, then grew teeth. Within a week, it felt like the block had a script and everyone knew my son's lines but me. I told myself it was confusion. Names crossed. Faces mixed up. But the stories matched in a way that made my skin prickle. The first time it felt off. It was a Saturday barbecue next door. Paper plates, plastic forks, someone's classic rock playlist bouncing off the patio stones. I was turning a hot dog in my hand when Mrs. Babbage drifted over with her watering can and that same bright smile. "Did he like his teacher this year?" she asked, like we were picking up a conversation from last week. I tried to keep it light. "My dog's therapist," she laughed. "Your son, grade 4 is a big leap. The math can be tricky." That word, son, sat between us like a hot pan I could not touch. My scalp buzzed. My mouth went dry. I felt watched by every ordinary thing in the yard. "I think he'll do fine," I said. My voice surprised me, thin and flat. "He likes numbers." "Of course he does," she said. "He's so proud of that bike, the blue one. He rides it like a little gentleman, always says hello." "Blue one," I repeated, biting the inside of my cheek. "Right," she warmed to the topic. "Is he still packed lunch or has he started buying at school? They grow up overnight, do they not?" "Packed," I said. "We do packed." The word fell out of my mouth before I could catch it. She leaned in, conspiratorial. "And how is he handling the split schedule? Mornings with you, afternoons at your mother?" "He told me he likes the quiet at your place, helps him read." Chest thumped. I felt like I had lost the key to my own life. I smiled because that is what people do at a barbecue. I took a sip of something cold that tasted like metal. "Kids adapt," I said. "They always do." "Good," she said, pleased. "You're doing right by him." I managed. "We try." She patted my arm and moved toward the potato salad. I stood there, anchored to the grass, trying to slow my thoughts. It felt like someone had told me a dream I should remember. I decided it had to be a mix-up. A neighbor's child. A story misfiled in an old mind. I told myself that and stuck to it hard like a bandage, but her details had a way of sticking. The blue bike. Grade 4, packed lunch. The rhythm of it made me uneasy. I went home early and pretended to be tired. I told myself to stop being dramatic and laughed at the whole thing alone in my kitchen. Why I started paying closer attention. I moved on, or tried to, until the same story kept finding me. Different porches. Different voices. Same boy. Saw him out front, helmet on. Such good manners. The helmet was always blue, sometimes scuffed. He likes the chilly kind, right? The food detail hit the same nerve every time. It matched. "He waves to the mailman and holds the gate," someone said, miming a small hand and a shy smile. No one traded glances or swapped cues. They were casual, confident, a chorus in the background of my days. Each comment echoed the last. Same grade, same bike, same polite wave. It felt less like gossip and more like a shared memory I was absent for. I started keeping a quiet list in my head. Who mentioned him and what they remembered. I noted repeats and near-complete overlaps. The patterns were clean and weirdly consistent. People added small flourishes, but the spine never changed. I also noticed something else. Neighbors told the story as if they were doing me a kindness. Not prying, not poking, just connecting. Their tone carried that soft pride people get when they talk about a child they like. That warmth made it harder to push back. It is easier to argue with a rumor than with affection. Curiosity took over. I began asking neutral follow-ups so I would not sound unhinged. What time did you see him riding? Which teacher did he mention again? Did he say hello first, or were you out front? They answered without pause. Morning rides. A teacher's name I did not know. A wave, always. No one faltered. No one corrected themselves. The more I listened, the more it felt like a map was forming, with my house at the center and a boy moving along predictable routes. I did not go hunting for explanations. Not yet. I was clocking the story and its edges, almost like field notes. If this was neighborhood talk, it was an unusually tidy kind. If it was memory, it was shared in a way that made my skin tighten. Quietly, I started scanning for the boy whenever I pulled into my driveway. I looked for the flash of blue, the slight figure at the curb, the small, polite wave. I did not see him, but the absence did not help. The comments kept coming, steady and bright, as if everyone else lived in a house where he belonged. That is when the puzzle started to hook into me. Too many matches, too much certainty. I stopped dismissing it outright and began treating every neighborly chat like a clue. Not paranoid, just awake. I was in the story now, whether or not I agreed to be. Escalating weirdness that kept me up at night. It did not stop with comments at the fence. The story of my supposed son started to show up in my life as objects. Packages on the porch. Gift bags hooked to my doorknob. Notes that sounded warm and somehow knew us. Each delivery felt like a nudge, like the neighborhood was trying to make the boy real in my hands. I tried to be polite about it. I kept my voice steady. I told myself this was mixed-up kindness, nothing more. Still, the feeling of being watched crawled up the back of my neck. Every creak in the hallway sounded like a small foot running away, unexpected gifts and notes that raised red flags. The first gift arrived on a Tuesday, right after dusk. A baseball glove in a simple brown box, no tape, no return label. There was a card tucked under the laces, hand-printed in tidy block letters. "For your growing boy." No name, no store logo, just that single line. I stood on the porch with the glove in my palms. It smelled like new leather and dust, like summer fields and scraped knees. I did not want to bring it inside. I set it in the entryway and stared at it like it might blink. That glove started a string of drop-offs that felt too personal to ignore. I kept track without meaning to, the way you count breaths when you cannot sleep. Blue helmet stickers, shaped like stars. The sheet had one sticker missing, as if the boy had already used it. A pack of pencils with a label, grade 4, you got this. Same handwriting, same tidy letters. The G had a careful curl, the 4 had an open top, a lunch thermos with a red cap. Inside, a folded note. Chili cheese for big days. A zipper hoodie, child-sized, soft and worn at the cuffs. A faint laundry smell like sun and detergent, not new. A crumpled store receipt stuck under my doormat, paid in cash. The items matched the drop-offs, but there was no name. I did not keep them. I could not. I walked each item back to a neighbor with calm, careful words. I knocked, smiled, and explained that I thought there had been a mix-up. I used phrases like "must be for someone else," and I wanted to make sure this found its home. People looked puzzled, then relieved, as if I had reminded them of something they meant to do. A few said, "Give it to him when you see him," which did not help. Returning the gifts became its own ritual. I tried to fold all the fear into manners. I taped small notes to bags and tucked them under porch lights. This was left at my door, not mine. "I think this is for another family. Thank you. Please double-check the address." The notes felt strange as I wrote them. My house number was clear and large. The bags were hung at a height a child could reach. If this was a mistake, it was a repeated one, aimed with care. The toll hit me at night. I started sleeping in short bursts, 4 minutes here, 9 minutes there. Every car door outside became a trigger. A simple thud on the sidewalk, and my heart took off. I stopped leaving shoes in the entryway because the sight of them beside the glove had made my stomach twist. I kept my blinds half closed and pretended it was for the afternoon sun. It was not just fear. It was a sense of being cast in a role. The gifts were props, the notes were lines, the porch was a stage. I was the only one who had not learned the script. Each item pushed a story that did not belong to me, yet fit too well. A few details cut deep because they matched the chorus I had already heard. The stickers matched the helmet color I was told about. The lunch note matched the chili cheese comment from my neighbor. The grade on the pencil pack lined up with all the small talk. These were not random. They felt like callbacks, as if the neighborhood and the objects were in on the same joke. Or worse, the same memory. I started to notice patterns. The drop-offs came after dark, usually between 8 and 9. The handwriting never changed. The bags were plain, thrift store plain, nothing cute or loud. Whoever did this moved with care and thought about how it would look at my door. No camera would see it unless I chose to install one. I told myself I would do that tomorrow, then tomorrow again. What kept me up was not just the thought of a stranger on my porch. It was the intimacy. Someone pictured a boy in my kitchen, a boy in my yard, a boy with a backpack and a lunch thermos and a blue helmet with a missing star. Someone pictured me, handing him these things. I tried small tactics to reclaim the space. I changed the porch bulb to a colder light. I moved the welcome mat and shook out the grit. I set a potted plant where a bag could not hang. These were minor acts, but they slowed my breath. They let me pretend I had a say in my own doorway. The next gift ignored the plant and the new bulb. It sat square in the center of the step, wrapped in newspaper tied with kitchen twine. The note on top read, "For practice after school." Inside, a rubber ball and a folded schedule for the community field. I did not open it all the way. I did not need to see more. I walked it to the edge of the block, held it against my hip, and rang another bell. The woman who answered had the soft, startled face of someone pulled from a nap. She saw the twine, smiled, and said, "He will love it." She pressed the package back into my arms like she was returning a baby. I carried it home with my jaw locked and my eyes on the curb. The street looked ordinary, but it did not feel neutral. It felt like a room where someone had just whispered. The worst part was how reasonable it all looked from the outside. Neighbors leave gifts for kids they know. Parents help each other. Notes stick to lunches, people pass around hand-me-downs. No crime, no chaos. On paper, all of it read as kindness. Inside my chest, it was static. I kept it simple when I talked about it. No big speeches. "Please stop leaving things at my door" sounded harsher than I intended, so I did not say it yet. I stuck with, "Not mine." I kept returning what I could and put the rest in a box by the front closet. A box I tried not to look at. That box felt loud in the dark. It'd wait, like a guest sleeping in the next room. I listened for movement and heard none, then heard everything. My own house changed from a place I knew into a place I was keeping an eye on. I laid awake, counting gifts in my head instead of sheep, trying to slow my pulse with numbers that would not stay still. Possible reasons behind the imaginary sun mix-up. Before I went hunting for curses or spirits, I tried to map the most human answers. People remember what they expect to see, not always what is there. A few small overlaps can stack into a full picture, and suddenly a boy with a blue helmet feels as real as a morning paper. Here is where my head went first. Could it be a case of mistaken identity? I live on a block where faces blur a little at a distance. Add a baseball cap, a mask, or a quick wave, and memory fills in the blanks. If there is someone nearby who looks like me, has a kid, and follows a similar schedule, it is easy to see how the story latched onto my name. A few common mix-up triggers could explain it. Look-alike plus routine. If my neighbor's friend or a renter down the street has my build and haircut, people will attach the child they see to the adult they know. Same time of day, same driveway shape, same silver sedan, same person, right? Shared gear and color cues. Everyone kept nomming the blue helmet, grade 4, chilly lunches. If another kid on our street wears the same color, those details glue the story together. Gate, wave, repeat. A polite wave is sticky. When a child does it daily on the same route, it becomes a neighborhood memory. The mind files the child under the nearest adult it can name. Hand-me-down paths, gifts, and lunch notes move through blocks all the time. One wrong doorstep can turn into 10 right retellings. Each retelling adds confidence. I have seen how fast a small error grows into local lore. It follows a simple chain. One neighbor speaks with total certainty. Another neighbor repeats the story to be friendly. A third neighbor adds a detail so it feels personal. Now it is common knowledge, and no one checks. People do not pass rumors like villains in a movie. They pass them like hot dishes at a cookout. Warm, quick, and meant to be kind. Real-world examples mirror this pattern. A misread sign becomes a known neighborhood name. A kid in the wrong hoodie gets blamed for something he never did. A rushed assumption in a tense moment rewrites a family's story until someone slows down and asks a clear question. The engine is always the same. A small queue, full confidence, and a crowd eager to connect. So if a father who looks like me lives 3 doors over, and his son rides a blue bike, that alone could spark this whole mess. Toss in a few porch drop-offs and a chatty group text, and I become the parent in half the block's mind without ever meeting the boy. What changed my thinking was how tidy the overlaps were. The same age, the same polite wave, the same lunch. Mistaken identity can do that, especially if people tell each other the same highlights. The chorus starts to match on its own. A loneliness factor in suburban life. I did not want to write this part off with a roll of the eyes. Isolation does strange things to memory and hope. It pushes people to stitch stories where there are gaps. Once I saw that, my suspicion eased into something else. Suburbs look social from the street. Lawns trimmed, kids on scooters, neighbors waving. Inside, a lot of people eat dinner with the TV on and no one to talk to. When you spend long days in your own head, you start to reach for small anchors. Borrowed closeness. A child writing by every afternoon becomes a tiny ritual. You track his growth, remember his helmet, and feel like you know him. Attach that ritual to a familiar adult, and you get a quiet sense of family nearby, filling the silence. A simple story bonds people fast. "His boy is in grade 4" is a safe, warm line that turns strangers into neighbors. Repeating it is a way to belong. Soft projections. People who miss their own kids or never had kids sometimes pour that care into the nearest routine. A wave at the gate becomes a small lifeline. Realizing this softened me. It reframed the porch gifts and the casual comments. Instead of seeing a plot, I started seeing attempts at connection. Not all of it was fair to me, and some of it crossed lines, but the fuel was human. No one was trying to gaslight me into a new life. They were trying to share one. Also made me check my own role. I work late. I slip inside with my head down. I wave, then vanish. A blank slate invites a story. In a quiet cul-de-sac, people paint with what they have. A wave, a name, a hint of a routine, and a boy appears to fill the empty spots. That did not solve the scariest parts of my weekend, not by a long shot. But it did change how I spoke to people after. Less sharp, more clear. I stopped hearing malice in every mix-up. I started hearing the ache under it. When someone asked about my son, I saw a neighbor reaching for warmth inside a day that felt too long. If isolation is the culprit, then the antidote is simple and hard. More honest talk. More names learned for real. More "hey, I think you mean the family on Bayview," and fewer confident leaps. I can live with that. It turns the eerie chorus back into a block full of humans doing their best to not feel alone. Steps I took to handle the situation gracefully. I decided to act like a good neighbor and a clear adult at the same time. No yelling, no long debates. I kept my voice steady and moved each awkward moment toward neutral ground. My goal was simple: protect my life, respect theirs, and not feed a story that kept growing on its own. Here is the structure that helped me keep control without causing a scene. Lead with calm facts, then redirect. I gave a short correction, followed by a friendly topic shift. Keep chats short. I smiled, nodded, and wrapped conversations quickly if they drifted into my son. The same language every time. Repeating the same sentence made it easier to stay calm and consistent. Treat gifts and notes like misdeliveries. I returned items with a simple message. No extra story, document what happened. I kept a private log of times, names, and phrases, just in case I needed clarity later. Give people an easy out. I gave neighbors a way to save face, which lowered tension. Protect my space. I changed small things at home and limited surprise visits. This approach followed a trend that actually works. Be brief, be kind, and shift the focus. People want to feel helpful, not scolded. If you give them something safe to talk about, they usually take it, setting boundaries without causing drama. When the same mistake kept coming up, I needed phrases that were firm, kind, and quick. These lines became my toolkit. Each one redirects the moment and keeps the peace. For casual chats at the fence, you must be thinking of someone else, but tell me about your family. Mine, I think there's been a mix-up. How are your grandkids doing? I don't have kids, but I love seeing the little ones ride by. How's your garden? When someone insists or doubles down. I hear you, but that is not me. No children on my end. I promise there is no son here. Let's clear that up so we do not confuse anyone. Not the right person for this. What are you growing this season? When a gift or note shows up. This was on my porch by mistake, not mine returning to sender. For thinking of us, this belongs to another family. Appreciate the kindness. Wrong house number, passing it back. A neighborhood get-together. Sounds like you have me mixed up with a neighbor. Easy mistake. Do you need anything for the potluck? No kids here. I teach, so maybe that's where the idea came from. How? Work going? I'm not the dad you're thinking of. So are you planting tomatoes this year? With people I know well, like my mom or coworkers? I'm hearing different versions from folks. For clarity, I don't have a child. I think something got scrambled. No sun, promise. I know this sounds odd, but that's not my life. Can we switch topics? If the person is older and seems confused, I might not be who you mean. I don't have a son. Want to sit and chat about your week? Let's check names. I don't have children, but I'd love to hear about yours. Harlan from next door, no kids. How are you feeling today? If someone brings up the blue bike or grade 4, that's a different household. I've seen him too. He seems sweet. Picturing another family. It happens. How's your new porch light? No connection here, but I've noticed a polite rider on our block too. When I needed a firm close. I don't have children. I need to head inside now. Have a good night. Not comfortable discussing this. Let's talk another time. That is not accurate. I'm stepping away from this topic. A few extra pivots that kept things friendly. I teach, so I probably seem like the kid guy. I get it. You have a great memory for faces. I think this one just got crossed. Not the dad here, but I can help carry that to your porch. Why this worked, I gave neighbors a soft exit. No shame, just a quick lane change. I kept my answers short. Long explanations invite debate. I never repeated the inaccurate story back. I did not give it new lines. I kept my tone warm even when I felt rattled. Voice matters. If you need a one-line fallback for any setting, this is the one that saved me over and over. Must be thinking of someone else, but tell me about your family. Diffuses the moment, shifts the spotlight, and takes the heat out of the mix-up. Conclusion. That first question on the driveway taught me something sharp and useful. Certainty can be wrong, and kindness can still confuse you. I walk my block with slower steps now, eyes open, heart open, boundaries clear. I double-check before I assume, and I listen for what a person is really asking for, connection or clarity. It made me careful, and it made me grateful for real names, real faces, and the quiet grace of honest talk. If this story rattled a memory loose, add your voice. Share what it stirred in you, or tell your own strange moment on Our Paranormal or Our True Scary Stories. If you have a neighbor who swears they know a life you never lived, write it down and keep the details. Stories like this travel fast, but the truest ones are anchored by small facts and a steady pulse. Take this with you the next time a familiar street feels unfamiliar. Keep your guard, keep your warmth, and let curiosity walk beside caution. Not everything needs a hard answer to matter. Some things mark you because they asked you to look twice at the ordinary and still call it yours. Thank you for reading and for staying with the weird parts. If you think a friend would love this, pass it along and let the thread grow. I will share more soon, and I hope you will too. How many quiet houses hold their own version of that first line, waiting for someone to ask it again, and for someone else to finally say, I remember something too.